We're at the old Wilson burying grounds at the Colorado Chapel Cemetery. We're at the graves of Don, Stacy, Kim, and Mary's fourth great grandparents and Amber's sixth great grandparents. So John L. is here on the left, and he was born in Georgia in 1801. They came to Texas in 1845. He died in 1881. And Martha Wilson is here. She was born in South Carolina in 1809, and she lived to be 91. She died in 1900. They were married in 1826 in Mississippi, and they had 13 children, 9 boys, 4 girls. One of the sons died young. Your third great grandmother is Sarah A. Wilson, and she married John Baxter Ormand.
Yeah.
And that's the connection. The graves of James Madison Townsend and Fanny Bowles Townsend. These are the third great grandparents on Honey's side of Kim, Mary, and Don. Not Stacy, unfortunately.
But I'm going to claim
with us. Stacy's going to claim it. So they were pioneers of Milam County. They married in Mississippi when she was 15 and he was 18. They had 12 children. One of them, Alice Melvina Townsend, married Henry Doc Weisman, and that's how that goes down. But let me read you some about the Townsends. Fanny was evidently extremely afraid of Indians, which could be understandable since her father was massacred by Comanches. But anyway, this is a picture of her. Yes, we don't have a picture of him, but let me read the stories about him and her. First of all, it says James and his wife, Frances Fanny Bowles Townsend, were early settlers of Bell County in the early 1850s. He was a soldier in the Civil War. He served with Company D of the 18th Regiment Texas Cavalry. Wounded and released from service, he settled where Rockdale, Texas now stands, the father of 11 children. This story is by Minnie Townsend Bates, who is his granddaughter. I'm sure she's gone now. James Madison Townsend and his family moved from Monroe County, Mississippi to Fayette County, Tennessee when he was 1 year old. Whatever their reason, they were soon back on the way to Mississippi, settling in Itawamba County. Well, Itawamba County is where the Bowles are from. It was there that they began farming, and when James was 18 years old, he married Frances Fanny Bowles and began farming and started a family. 2 daughters were born in Itawamba County before they moved to Texas. That was your second great-grandmother, Alice Melvina Townsend. She was born in Mississippi. After moving to Texas, they settled in Bell County, and James became very active in settling the county. He helped protect the settlers from hostile Indian attacks and joined various groups such as the Bell County Rovers. When the Civil War broke out in 1862, he joined, taking his horse and rifle on January the 15th, 1862. He served in Company D, 18th Cavalry for a period of 1 year. He was injured in the hand at the Battle of Pea Ridge near Camp Crystal, Arkansas. Just as an aside, Don and I have been to that battlefield when we've been to Arkansas. He was discharged because of his disability and paid $55 for traveling the 550 miles from Little Rock, Arkansas, to his place of discharge in Belton, Texas. He had also due him $25 for clothing not drawn and was indebted to the Confederacy for $3 for clothing drawn. James then opened a saloon and store in Rockdale, Texas. He went into business with a Mr. Witcher. He owned the land where Rockdale now stands. He owned all of the land around Hicks, Texas, and had a general store selling groceries, dry goods, wagons, plows, harnesses, etc. His store and saloon were located a few feet from the present-day Bank of Rockdale. So anyway, also there's several cowboys came into the Townsend store and were drinking, and then they went under a nearby tree and stabbed each other, and his daughter saw that, and I guess she said, I was so close to the stabbing that some of the blood splattered on my crackers. The men were discussing where to bury the cowboy. One remembered a pretty grove of trees down the road. He was buried under a live oak tree, and this became the legend of Forest Grove Cemetery, where James and Fanny were later buried. James is described as standing 5 feet 11 inches tall with blue eyes and black hair. His occupation was listed as a farmer and stock raiser. He was considered to be well-to-do at one time and owned 7 slaves. One was an old Negro lady named Amanda. She was called Domps because she was a fat, dumpy lady. She must have been well loved by James and Fanny, as they named one of their daughters Amanda. James and Fanny had a great love of family and pride and loyalty to their country. He loved telling his children and grandchildren stories, and they remember his flowing white beard. He allowed them to play with the sword he carried throughout his service in the Civil War. Oh my God, if we could find that and what that would be worth. Anyway, his disfigured hand, he was a fiddle player just like my daddy. His disfigured hand suffered in the war was a double tragedy for James, as he was a great fiddle player. He dug his roots in deep between Rockdale and Tanglewood, where he raised his family, and died at age 59 on Christmas Day, leaving a wife and children aged 12 to 40 years. It is said he turned to his wife before dying and said, "Fanny, who turned the lamps down?" So we're at the grave of your second great-grandfather, John Seals, whose daughter, Fanny Cornelia Seals, married John Wilson Ormand. He was born in June of 28 in 1820 in North Carolina. Not exactly sure where. I think it was called Anson. He died here in Bell County, May 30th, 1886. He was 65. He married Jemima Bruner Seals in 1848 in North Carolina, so obviously they came out to Texas, but I'm not sure when. That I couldn't find. They had 8 children, 3 boys, 5 girls, and we'll go find her grave in Jonesboro. All right, we're at the graves of William Jefferson Schaffer and Lucinda E. Wetzel Schaffer. He was born November 10th, 1835 in Washington County, Virginia. Died here in Hamilton, Carlton, November 20th, 1908. He was the son of William Schaffer, 1793 to 1864, and Margaret Dolly Hickman Jones, 1797 to 1865. He married Lucinda E. Wetzel on January the 4th, 1855 in Blount County, Tennessee. He was a private in the Civil War from Fannin County, Texas, 14th Brigade. They moved and lived their lives in Hamilton County, where they both died, buried together in the cemetery. Of all of their brothers and sisters, in 1890 in Hyco, this is William Jefferson Jr., your second great-grandfather, and this is Lucinda Wetzel Schaffer, your second great-grandmother. First in Fannin County, Texas. One interesting piece of information shows up in the 1860 Fannin County census. William Jefferson Schaffer and Samuel Parrott Schaffer, now that's his brother, but of course he named his son after his brother. That's not unusual, that's typical. William J. and Samuel P. are the sons of William Schaffer and Margaret Jones, and grandsons of John Schaffer and Eve Keltner. That's where Eva comes from. And of course they lived in Virginia and Pennsylvania, Germans. This makes William and Samuel nephews of George Schaffer. I don't know who that was. So he and Samuel had moved to Tarrant County in the 1870s, so that was after the Civil War, and moved here to Hamilton County, Texas. They just said when they died. William died in 1908, and Samuel died in Hamilton County in 1906. Here his enlistment. I have his Civil War records.
Whose Civil War records?
His, William Jefferson Schaffer Jr.
Okay.
He enlisted at age 26. Enlistment date was April 22nd, 1862. He was a private. His muster place was Texas. His muster regiment was the 11th LA. Don't know exactly what that meant, but he was artillery. Side of the war, Confederacy. Survived the war, yes.
Wow.
He also, before he joined as a private, he was a private in the Home Guard, the Oak Hill Home Guard Cavalry Company, volunteer. Beat and Fannin County, 14th Brigade, I can't say that, Brigade, July 25th, 1861. So he was in the Home Guard before, and then he signed up. So this ends our Schaffer journey, but I want to take you back to your total origin. Hans Jacob Schaffer, Jr., 1728 to 1850. This is your fifth great-grandfather. He was the original Schaffer. He was born December 30th, 1728 in Darmstadt, Hesse, Germany. His father, Hans, was 26 and his mother, Rosina, was 24. He arrived at 19 years old on the ship Patience into Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He married Katharina Delaplanque, and they had 7 children together. That's your fifth great-grandmother. We'll talk about them in just a minute. He then married Odilla Schmidt, and they had 9 children together. He died on May the 8th, 1815 in New Market, Virginia. They married in Virginia. He married his first wife in Pennsylvania, having lived a long life of 86 years, and was buried in Mount Jackson, Virginia. So then let's go back to your sixth great-grandfather on Catherine Delaplanque. Catherine Delaplanque, his first wife, died very young, even though they had 7 children together. She only lived from 1730 to 1766. So she was only 36 and they had 7 children. And then one of the Schaffers, this Schaffer's father was one of their children, and they're buried back in Virginia. So we know the Hans Jacob came over. So your other great-grandfather, who was the father of your fifth great-grandmother, Catherine Delaplanque, fascinating. He was Dr. Jacques James Jacobus Delaplanque. He was born May the 4th, 1684, in Fossy, LA, France. His father was 46 and his mother, Leonard, was 41. He married Mary Catherine Houghton in 1727 in Pennsylvania. They had 4 children during their marriage. He died on May the 10th, 1760 in Olney, Pennsylvania, having lived a long life of 76 years. He was the first pioneer physician to come to Berks County, Pennsylvania, as he signed a petition in 1720 requesting the Provincial Council to elect a new township to be called Olney. He and Catherine Delaplanque were married in a church in Reading, Pennsylvania, where I was born.
Oh wow, say that one more time.
He and your fifth great-grandmother, or your sixth great-grandmother, I'm sorry. No. Mary Catherine Houghton was his wife. Catherine Delaplanque was the daughter. They married in a church in Reading, Pennsylvania, where I was born.
That is so crazy.
So here's one thing on him that's a very old thing that I found. Early physicians, the pioneer physician of Berks County. Berks County is where Reading is. It's kind of in the middle of Pennsylvania. So far as public record goes, was Dr. Jacques de la Planque. His medical education received at the University of Basel, Switzerland, between 1696 and 1700, under the special instruction of Professor Theodorus Singuius, who occupied the chair of practice of medicine in that institution. He immigrated to America soon after his graduation, being one of the first Huguenots. A Huguenot was a French Protestant, and they were very persecuted. Some of my people were French Protestants too, that escaped to the Netherlands and England, because usually they killed them. He landed at Germantown, that's Pennsylvania, and tradition in the family has it that while he was on the way to a settlement in Berks County, he was delayed at Olney through the importunities of a settler whose wife was very ill at the time. His skill in the successful treatment of this case won the confidence of the settlers, who prevailed upon him to remain in their midst. That he located in this county at a very early date is shown that in the fact in 1720, he with a number of settlers of that district signed a petition requesting the Provincial Council to erect a new township to be called Olney.
Oh wow.
So there you have it. Your people have been here
Long time.
for a very long time.